So the song that made me want to be a songwriter and artist was Harry Chapin's Cats in the Cradle, because my dad, when I was a kid, would play it over and over and over and over again in the car. So I knew all of the lyrics to that very long song at like the age of 5, like all of them. And it felt like this one song was like a book. It was like a whole story. It took you on a whole journey in like 5 minutes. And I knew that from that song, I wanted to be a storyteller and I wanted to tell 5-minute stories.
I moved out to the city, oh, the vultures followed me, preying on my weakness like it was a disease. A few times it brought me to my knees, brought me to my knees. So I walked into the desert, fighting through the heat, searching for the answers that I can't seem to see. Tired of who they're wanting me to be, wanting me to be. When the only thing you're left with are your torn and tattered clothes, when you find yourself wandering down a dark and lonely road, when you've got a feeling in your heart that no one seems to know, feeling like a complete unknown. I'm a rebel soul, I'm a rebel soul. I lifted up my head and I walked into the clouds, decided that this moment won't ever get me down. Nobody's gonna stop me now, gonna stop me now. Well, the only thing you're left with are your torn and tattered clothes, when you find yourself wandering down a dark and lonely road, when you've got a feeling in your heart that no one seems to know, feeling like a complete unknown. I'm a rebel soul, I'm a rebel soul, when the only thing you're left with are your torn and tattered clothes, when you find yourself wandering down a dark and lonely road, when you've got a feeling in your heart that no one seems to know, feeling like a complete unknown. I'm a rebel soul, I'm a rebel soul, I'm a rebel soul, I'm a rebel soul, I'm a rebel soul.
So my song Rebel Soul was inspired by feeling really frustrated with music, feeling like everywhere I went, people like expected me to be something. I think especially as like a woman of color in folk music, I felt a lot of times I felt really tokenized in a lot of spaces, and I felt like I had to fit some kind of mold of what everyone's idea of what, like, oh, you are like the female like brown folk singer here today of the day, and we're here because we want you to speak about who you are. And I felt like I was being forced into a box that I wasn't really sure that I fit or that made any sense to me, and I just wanted to be myself. And so I feel like that song is dealing with tokenism in the music industry. And, you know, I've had this conversation with some of my fellow, women of color in folk music, like my friend Kishana and Chris Matthews, who are amazing, and we all say the same thing, where it's like, it's so exciting to be able to speak for ourselves and to not have to fit into some box of like, oh, like you're here for the diversity factor, which can be really uncomfortable, even though I'm fighting for diversity, So there is that line between tokenism and inclusion. And so that song is about that frustration and realizing that I want to pave the way for other women of color in folk music and be like the rebels that we are, like the rebel badasses that we are, and speak for ourselves and make space for ourselves and pave the way for each other and not follow the rule book of whatever was before us. Americana music, to me, the first thing I think of is roots and where our roots come from. I think that the beauty of Americana is that it's a mesh of so many different like roots, instruments and genres coming together. All of the different folks, like who have come together here in the United States or in America over the years and have created I almost feel like it's like when you're just sitting on a porch and you have different instruments and what you put together with it, and its bass is acoustic, and then we've built on it from there. And a lot of it, Americana music has originated with the Black folks and the music that they have played over the centuries here in the United States, which is not always given credit to, and also Indigenous people and all the instruments that they've brought in, and also just the sound of the South and the sound of the immigrants and all the like instruments that they brought over as well. So I feel like Americana music is like a melting pot of so many different roots instruments that many folks of many different backgrounds brought together.
On a boat from Japan, 5 stitches in my head, to America to meet my dad. Holding on to paper dolls, different food and different talk. I wonder if I'll like this new land. Holding on to what Mama said to me. They may change your name, they may change your name to something they can say, but you're gonna be okay. We arrive, one room flat between Columbus and Amsterdam. I see other girls, but I don't look like them. Papa opens up a store, selling smokes and trinkets from back home, searching for some form of an American dream. Holding on to what Mama said to me. They may change your name, they may change your name to something they can say, but you're gonna be okay. They may call you names, we'll make it anyway. They can't change our ways, they may change your name, but you're the same to me. You're the same to me. You're the same to me. We'll call you Shirley. 'Cause they may change your name, they may change your name to something they can say, but you're gonna be okay. They may
So Change Your Name is my mother's immigration story. The whole song from front to back is verbatim my mom's story. And she moved to the United States when she was 3 years old from Japan. So when I sat her down and was like, I want to write a song about your story. Can you tell me everything you remember? It was really interesting because it was all bits and pieces and fragments of a story because she was 3. And so she remembered playing with paper dolls on the boat. She remembers how she hit her head and had to get stitches on the boat. She remembers the cross streets of her first apartment. And all of those little snapshots were what made that song. And then she remembered having to change her name from Shuga to Shirley. At the time, Shirley Temple was really popular, so they changed it to Shirley. And so, my mom, she talked to me about having been called names on the playground and how she was the only Asian student in her class and how that was really hard and how she had to learn how to speak English. And so I just think my story starts with my mom's story. I'm a continuation of her story. So in order for me to really share who I am as an artist, I have to start with her story. And so, yeah, let's Change Your Name. What drew me to Americana music? It must have been my dad. Interestingly enough, like my dad, growing up, he was a mariachi. So he played trumpet in a mariachi band. And yet he listened to a lot of mariachi music, and we loved Selena, but then he loved James Taylor and Harry Chapin and Joni Mitchell and the Beatles and the Eagles, and that's what I listened to all throughout my childhood. And then I grew up in musical theater as a musical theater actor, and my dad was on Broadway when I was a kid. And I have always felt like folk and Americana music is very related to theater because you can hear every lyric and you can put on a show with a guitar and one voice, which has always felt really beautiful and simple and theatrical to me. And I've always felt like an album is a play. And so I think I've just always been drawn to Americana music because it is a precious and almost, for lack of better words, simple form of storytelling, because I can do this form of storytelling by myself with a guitar and my own voice. And I love being able to hear every lyric. It's just what I was surrounded by as a kid from what my dad played. And also I think that there's something inspiring to me about playing Americana music from the perspective of someone who comes from all of these things, these backgrounds that maybe have been criticized of not being truly American, like my mom being an immigrant, my dad being of indigenous descent. I feel like there's something in there that is nuanced and dissonant a little bit that I want to lean into and I want to speak up for, and I want to show everyone that Americana, American, can be so many things, including bringing on all of these stories from all these different backgrounds that have come together in Americana.
I've been thinking about the news. Daddy leaves it on all day through. I've been thinking about the wars, and to be honest, I can't take it anymore. I hear you every day, the awful words you say, and hate can't be the face of the American dream. I've been thinking about my life and how one day I wanna be a mother and a wife. I've been scared of that thought too. In a world of struggle, what are we gonna do? I hear you every day saying it's gonna be okay, but hate can't be the face of the American dream. And I know but I've got to believe that change is a choice, and it can start with me. And I've been thinking about our mother, how they took her away from her people, put her in a boarding school, away from her brother, sister, and culture. I can hear her every night saying we've gotta make this right, 'cause hate can't be the face of the American dream. And I know we've got a long way to go, but I've got to believe that change is a choice, and it can start with me. And change is a choice, and it can start with me. And change is a choice, and it can start with you.
American Dream was inspired by, I think a lot of my music has this theme of the American dream and what it means to strive for the American dream. I think that a lot of times I've kind of been like thinking about how the American dream, quote unquote, this like cookie cutter version of what it is, and this whole like, if you come to this country and you work hard, like everything's gonna work out for you, just have to work hard, doesn't acknowledge the fact that depending on your race or socioeconomic class, you have ceilings to break through, and how there's a lot of things in order to attain that American dream can take many generations. And my mom is an immigrant, my dad is someone of Indigenous descent. I've seen how they've faced a lot of discrimination on their way to the American dream, and how in order for us to create a more inclusive and just and beautiful American dream, we have to acknowledge these ceilings and these hardships that are a part of that system. And so American Dream is inspired by both of my parents and their families' quest for this American dream. And how I think when I was younger, all I wanted to be was like the all-American folk singer girl. And I wanted to almost forget a lot of the hardships that come along with being mixed race or come along with my family's lineage. Because I wanted to just be, I wanted to be all-American and not have to face those difficult things. And I realized that that is impossible. Our stories are what make our dreams. Our stories are what make these beautiful American dreams possible. But in order to reach that, we have to acknowledge where we've come from. As a woman of color in Americana music, I have definitely felt the conversation change, almost jarringly. I feel like there has been a huge shift in the past couple of years, and it's gone from trying to prove to folks that I can belong and that my music is Americana and that I want to feel welcome in these spaces, to being invited and being asked to speak up and to get to be empowered. And I think that there is a little bit of that excitement I feel about that, and also a little bit of like, it is jarring to feel like, okay, but also when it comes to amplifying voices of color, we also have to remember that it is about the music too, and that these artists of color have been creating music for years, far beyond this new conversation that is so great. And that it's incredible about, to talk about, inclusivity and bringing artists of color to the stage, and also to acknowledge that like all of us were making music far before this conversation had started, and we deserved to be here for all those years too. And so I think that there is so much excitement, but also that little bit of like, okay, but like, we can't forget that this has been going on and that there is a lot of healing to be done. But I'm just so grateful to have so many other women of color in the genre that we get to support each other and cheer each other on. And whenever one of us gets somewhere, we can throw each other's names in and say like, hey sis, like come on, like let's help each other. We have a place to go to talk to each other and to feel supported, because I think that sometimes it can feel isolating or like you're an island, but you're not. Like there's so many like, you know, sisters out there who are rooting for you too.